Welcome to another edition of Harbinger, episode number 2. Before we go further, how you doing tonight, my friend Daniel?
Hey Tim, how you doing? I'm great.
Yeah, it's been a very, how can I say this in a clear, concise way? It's been a very fascinating week in the world of cryptocurrencies. The Bitcoin, from the had a bit of an up and down. So, it's been a bit of an interesting week all around. So maybe you want to expand on that more. Just general sort of coin prices, and maybe start off with what happened this week in Bitcoin for people who aren't aware.
Yeah, definitely. Bitcoin, it went up slightly over 1,000. Then it came down to about evenly at $1,000. I'm talking went a little bit below 1,000 and it has been stable at basically 1 grand per Bitcoin. There's some news in China. They are attacking exchanges that for some time the Chinese exchanges were allowing people to just trade and trade with no fees at all. So it reached like billions of dollars of trading volume per day. And the authorities, now everybody knows this is happening, so nobody acknowledges Chinese exchanges volumes. They just say, okay, they're just going wild. But the authorities in China are now urging those exchanges to start charging a fee. And that's causing a little bit of uncertainty. It's slowed down the uprising of the Bitcoin price, and it's just wobbling, as they say, around the $1,000 mark. Another nice coin, very interesting, is Litecoin. Litecoin right now is signaling what's called SegWit. It's a new development, segregated witness. SegWit is short for segregated witness. So what SegWit allows people to do is make transactions without finalizing them. And those transactions are created off of the blockchain. And when someone wants to finalize a transaction, anybody can cause a finality and it gets written to the blockchain. But in the meantime, until there's a finality on a transaction, you could transfer those coins on this parallel market. And if someone wants to close that channel down, they can do so. And there's a big debate about it, whether people should be doing it or not doing it. People say it undermines the integrity of the blockchain, and people in Bitcoin don't want to do it. However, Litecoin, which is a copy of Bitcoin with some slight differences, the lead developer decided to take this SegWit implementation and integrate it into Litecoin. And now it's up to the miners to decide if this new development gets added to the blockchain or not, to the Litecoin blockchain. But it does open up a new paradigm in what can be done with the blockchain. So it is interesting, and Litecoin is starting to become interesting in that regard, that it's doing something innovative, new, risky, frontier-like. So Litecoin is very interesting. Its price is, let me pull it up. It's about 0.037 Bitcoins each. Let me put that in dollar terms. It's at about $3.73. If we think about it in dollar terms, it's been the same price for quite a long time, for the last year. But versus the Bitcoin, it's dramatically dropped. So, and it's been dropping dramatically. And when I say dramatically, like 75% down from a year ago. Whereas Bitcoin rising against the dollar 200% since last year. Next interesting coin is MaidSafe coin. It's rising significantly. Its market cap reached about 90 million today. Just to put that into perspective, about a month ago, it was at about 50 million. So it's risen nearly 100% in about a month, at about 20 cents per coin. It started to pull off of that high price. And this is just within the last hour it's going. Very interesting. And last coin that I would bring up is Safe Exchange coin, which has been quite stable in the 30 Satoshi mark. the new website safex.io has made a sale, and it caused the price to rise because of the automatic way in which when people use the safex.io website to buy a safe exchange coin, it's repurchased on the exchange immediately. So that's that about the altcoins. And Tim, I think you had something interesting to tell us about in Network 99.
Yep, you just give me a second, my friend, and I will put up a roadmap, because what I'm going to. It's been a while since we put up a roadmap, so I thought today I'll go through it. So you just give me 2 secs while I screen share through Google, and then I'll show you exactly what we've been doing. Now, can you see that screen, my friend?
No, I still see your beautiful face right now.
Oh dear, can you see it now?
No, same.
Okay, just give me a sec. The joys of Google. So just while I'm setting this up, Daniel, maybe just talk about, because I've heard one of the questions that was actually relayed to me after last week's show was somebody's heard about, obviously they see the rise in the how Bitcoin goes, and obviously it has very dramatic rises and falls. Now, one of the things that they'd read about, and I wonder if you could illuminate us further, would be they've heard about the 7-step process to when to buy Bitcoin, that it goes through a 7-step up to when it gets to its height, and then it goes down again and it rises again. So are you aware of the 7-step sort of process to buying Bitcoin, and where would you say on that step process it is right now?
Yeah, that would be called the hype cycle, and out of 7, we're probably at a 3. I imagine that Bitcoin will breach $2,000 in price, and I predicted that after the halving is when the price would rise, and that's happening now, and it's gone exponentially. And I do believe that we are just idling before another uprise in the price. So, hey, I see your roadmap now.
Perfect. So, right, excellent. For people watching, you'll be able to see in front of you the roadmap. So, from the last time we can see, if people can, just to sort of talk you through, we have a roadmap that's basically at the start, and it leads you right through to the launch. And as you can see right now, we're on track with many issues and on other parts on others. So if you look at the roadmap, you'll see we've made quite significant progress with the seed engine and the design process. And as you can see from this one, this is just an overrun of it. So this process at the moment, we've got the siege engine in development, which is well, that's another story, because it's a very complicated. It was like a lot of creative things. It's a more complicated issue than we thought it was going to be initially. The music player is built and in development, and the user interface is being built and in development. For the next sort of stage going on, we're going to be doing the seed engine. We'll just be completing that. The music player will just be completed, and the user interface will be completed, and the water build complete. So just to give you a sort of an overrun, we had another month's slippage on the roadmap, but this is envisaged not being an issue really, because of the full functionality of the safe network as it stands right now. Development is progressing really well.
Tim,
yes.
I had a question.
Yes.
In the slide, you had the watermark. Is that related to how when artists upload their music, that's how they are rewarded? It's
intrinsically, and put on tape. It's meant to be maybe an opaque level above, because it's watermark is in the essence of what it actually means. It's a way of that when a person puts any content up, that piece of content can be marked all the way through it. So whenever that content is played, it's known to go back to the person who produced it. So it was one of the quite a leap forward really, because as you can imagine, we have to face the issue from the creative perspective of people copying other people's tunes. So watermarking is a way of stamping their content, so they know that it's always going to be played, and every time it's on their 99 played, the rewards, the seeds will go straight back to that person
because of that watermark.
So I was going to say here, one of the things that I'm really excited about launching tonight, and this is the first time this has ever been seen in public, is some opening the curtains really to some of the stuff we've done behind. So on the screen right now, you'll see it's the registration page. So this is the registration page, and the template landing page has been agreed. Draft text has been developed, and the final review per schedule per user is acceptance testing. Now that basically means that once we've got this end of it out, the next stage will be going out and using it amongst the users, probably the investors of N99 originally will be going out and be the testing of the first alpha or beta release. We've done the user agreement. The user agreement template has been agreed. Draft text has been developed with the final review scheduled. Pre-user acceptance testing again, and the cockpit license as well. So we've done all those three. The cockpit and players. So as you can see from the images, these have all been done with, and which we're going to go to next, with color coordinating. Now this is what you're going to see here: content cards. Content cards have been created with color coding to match categories. This is a faithful to our strategic aim of making the application as a language independent as possible. Color coding is used throughout the application to identify content categories, genres, applications with a view to the whole site mapped in 3D in future release. Just to break that down a bit more, color from an artist's perspective is a very strong indicator of groupings, and I wanted to make from day one N99 to be as acceptable beyond language and beyond, you know, to everybody in the world. And flow processes, as you can see from the images here right now, a lot of work has been done, and I mean a lot of work has been done on the back end of the flow process behind N99. So we've got the have been accurately mapped. They've all been shared amongst the development team. We just basically, this is the whole background of these, and again, all these images and this will all be put out obviously later on onto various sort of platforms. So basically, it's been in essence a very busy few months. But yeah, we're progressing further. So basically, I'll be putting that information out, out onto the various forums, and yeah, the next sort of stage that people will be seeing will be the user acceptance. But it's been a very fascinating process at the moment, and we're getting there step by step. And I'm very excited to sort of let people know about the progress, and there'll be a lot more coming over the next few weeks.
So that means that artists can take a look at what you've been producing, and they can give you the feedback that you need to address any issues that the artist might have, or to produce any features that might arise as a result of that feedback.
Exactly, Daniel. And one of the things that has been intrinsic to the very essence of building N99 from the beginning is being from a creative, and especially the musicians and the artist's perspective. And one of the things that many artists are very aware of is having their material not only stolen from them and used by other people, but it's still equally about collaboration. So this will not only give you the ability to know that your material is going to be stored on a private network, which is it's fantastic, but it also means that you can share, and like I say, it opens up the ability to communicate with other people, because the whole essence to me of a decentralized network, and the greatest strength is it's got to be organic and done from the very people who are contributing it from the beginning, not from the top upwards. Yeah. So that's been put in from the very beginning. So yeah, and it's been a great great sort of steps forward, but in the quiet, like many projects. It's the same with like the Safe Exchange and many projects. So a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, but step by step, as I say many times, we're getting towards it, and it's this is going to be a great opening door to many people, and that I don't think many people have the understanding yet of what the potential this technology is going to release. And I think one of the things, and I wanted to steer this towards this, was it's been very much an issue over here, as we were saying before we went live, about privacy. So I wanted to really sort of start with, and because it's one of the questions again was related to me last week, and we talk about privacy, and the question I would throw to you, maybe you can illuminate us more on it. Why is privacy so important? What technical solutions do decentralized networks and maybe Safe Exchange and Safe Network, etc.? What is it on a technical level that they can promise with privacy compared to the current paradigm and the current internet?
Yeah, definitely. Like From my perspective, privacy on the internet is super important because if you've seen, for example, like anybody interested in the internet or using the internet should see and consider the exposure that Snowden has created for example, entities like the NSA. And what he showed was that people who have power to see your private life will also forge and frame people into things that they aren't participating in actually, but they can frame the perception that they are. And so if people didn't have access to your private life, they wouldn't be able to forge your private life for you. Things like when Google is targeting ads and Twitter is targeting ads, that's all because we agreed to give up our privacy in the user agreement. Now, let's transition to, or for example, SoundCloud. If, for example, in a SoundCloud, if you give up your content, you gave up your content, and if somebody copies it and there's disputes on who owns that content, and bringing that back to decentralization, where, for example, on Network 99, you have the watermark, and now if someone borrows your content, your watermark goes with your content. So now, to understand how privacy is addressed with decentralization in the blockchain, for example, or with, in particular, public key cryptography. To understand the solution to privacy on the internet is to understand the concept that public key cryptography addresses that issue, where the access to the services is withheld from the controllers, and the access is beholden to the person who made the key. Now, when you make a Bitcoin key, for example, if you used offline software, only you have access to that key. And you can write that key down, you could preserve it. But that is your identity to use cryptocurrency to be a private citizen. Now, if you use an online service, I'll give you an example, blockchain.info. They don't give you your private keys. If you use blockchain.info to make your wallet, then you're going to give up your privacy because they now are the masters of your money. If you go to the bank and get an account number, you reserve the right to the bank to monitor, to take your funds against your will, to do what they want with your funds. You agree to it when you sign the paperwork. So you see, you give up your privacy by not owning the means to utilize what is in your possession. So you become only a custodian. Whereas in decentralization, with the blockchain, we are the custodians. We not only are the custodians, we are the owners, the sole possessors of the means of transfer, of the means of proof of the ownership. And no one can steal it from us because it's impossible. No one can guess your private key, Tim. No one can guess my private key. It's virtually impossible. And that's the beauty of blockchains and decentralization and the shift in power and the paradigm of where value exists, where the banks no longer have power and the people have power if they are using cryptocurrency and they're using private keys and they're using them correctly. And that takes education and some good lessons. For example, cryptocurrency exchanges lost people money all the time. So we decentralized them. Centralized services for selling goods, they collapse and censor people for political reasons. They will collapse. They will be replaced by the decentralized solutions. Music companies are hoarding attention. That will be decentralized and it will collapse. And the people in the decentralized world of music and content production will gain the fair share. So when we talk about privacy, on the point of privacy, when you own the key, you made it in your own house, and you're the only person who has that key, and you, in your secrecy, in your behind your veil, you create your transfers of value. That is when you are enabled with privacy again, because there is no password connected to owning your private key. There is no identification connected to owning your private key. There is no middleman giving you the private key. It's yours. So that's the answer to privacy. It's to use cryptocurrency to understand these basic principles of private keys, using the blockchain and using cryptography to in everyday life and on the internet and in the real world.
Exactly, and I think just to bring this back, as I always like to do, I like to bring it back to all the time to creative people and the artists and the musicians. And one of the reasons I've particularly, and flown the flag, many ways, and put my, for this whole decentralized idea, is because it's an idea that's been waiting to come. And one of the things that I think maybe to take it, because I concur with you 100%, but I think one of the things that's ubiquitous with the whole current paradigm is this idea that privacy is almost kind of being eroded just on a almost like a mindful level. And one of the things that this is why I bring it back to the artists, because many artists and musicians, they understand more than most people walking this planet about the idea of privacy, because to create you need to do it in private. It's this, and that's essential to go forward, because for any ideas, whether it's a painting, a piece of music, a piece of code, and anything, any engineering, it's essential that privacy is kept alive. It's essential. And we live in a world where, like you said, the shifting sands are on a complete, tide all the time to take away as much privacy and have every thought put into a public domain. And you can even argue a lot of the technology is maybe pushing us into that direction as well, where everything will be in a one mind kind of one computer sort of thing. But I think it's essential, and that's why I think I'm so inspired by projects like yours and the general decentralized projects, mine, and what's just generally going on, because I think to keep privacy alive as a concept is essential, and many artists and musicians really understand that. And that's why I think many artists and musicians particularly love what we're doing, and I think are really behind us, because they suffer the most from this from the angle you were speaking about, and equally from the angle of being creative.
Yeah, of course. One of the concepts, I wouldn't call it a concept, one of the developments that are addressing that is stemming from the State Exchange community called the Chile blockchain, for example. And that employs the use of ring signatures to obfuscate the transfer of value. So you can't really track the path of where one coin went, because if you looked, you would find that it could have taken a number of paths. And so you can't definitively prove that there was any one path taken. These things are very important. They protect people, and they move society forward. They in a way where people are now willing to do things because they know that they're not going to be intercepted. Even especially legitimate actions. Privacy and anonymity are not a bad thing. They allow people to do things, including the good things. So,
no, exactly, Daniel. And this is one of the many reasons, and I think it needs to be said over and over again. We are currently living through a renaissance, and the reason for what you just spoke upon about the fact that many people who 5-10 years ago didn't have the aid of technology or the means, and let alone like you said, the privacy to discuss these ideas, now they have, and we're seeing this flourishing all over, many projects all over the world, and we're seeing this great flourishing where people have been able to have some private thoughts with some tools in their hands. And we're seeing that. This is why I get so excited, and it inspires me on a daily basis, because there is a paradigm shift coming, and it's just it's all been done by individuals in private, collaborating and moving forward, and that to me is a natural solution.
Yeah, in the public, it's important to voice out your opinions, and not just opinions. It's like your marketplace, your forum, for example. That's what you do. You create and think for good and bring it upon the people. And there's a lot of criticism in that. There's embracing and there's criticisms. Now, if you're creating and you're constantly criticized, it makes things a little difficult and discouraging. So if you did have that, you can go behind closed doors, create, and then present, then people can criticize at that point or embrace, or half and half. That's just how it goes. People have different tastes, and over time tastes change. So yeah, not everything has to be out. It shouldn't be out in the open. It doesn't have to be. That's for sure. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting, a lot of nice and progressive content being produced about the decentralization. I remember listening to a few tracks. I forgot the name, but one was something like animated character or something. Or maybe you can refresh my mind.
Well, no, the track that I saw you, and I know you liked them, and I think this is a part of. This is one of the things that I try to illuminate on a weekly basis and say that it's like a duck underwater, because people see the duck gliding across, they don't see the legs going underneath. And there's so many creative people right now are getting inspired and are creating content and music and just general. That's all coming down the pipeline. That it's just going to be an absolute paradigm shift in what people are going to hear. And the track you're talking about was from a gentleman based in New York called Phantom Enigma. And we'll play out with this track, and it's called Cinematic, but it gives you a bit of a clear example. It's another clear insight into just what's coming. Like I said before, I've used this analogy many times, but I think right now maybe we look out at a desert and we're just starting to see the first drops of rain and the first flowers are starting to bloom, and what that meadow is going to look like, that desert's going to look like after a shower of rain and a few heavy days of downfall, it's going to be immense. And that's what we're just starting to see. We're just starting to see this beautiful artistic music and everything arising, and it's all been on the back of projects, decentralized projects. That's the really inspiring thing. So like I said, I will play out with that. Well, Daniel, it's been, as always, it's an insightful conversation. While I am just queuing this up, maybe just as a quick short paragraph, maybe just what would be your overriding message that people can maybe take away from this conversation tonight?
Definitely, the future is in our hands. It's in the power of the private key, and it's here today, and it's for us for now and forever. And I urge that anybody listening to share this video or share this message with anybody else who they know to become empowered. We shouldn't leave our fellow men, our fellow women, our children without the power that exists right now in the private key, the offline creation, and the storage of digital value that no one can take away from you except you with your private key and signature.
Just everything is just centralizing, power is centralizing, it's all just getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And with this is what happens. Knowledge gets ruined and lost on the outside.
Let's start with the basics. Let's start with the first point. Let's roll up a big blunt. Let's roll up a little joint. I'm out of the matrix. You look like you wanna join. Which way are we taking? Let's flip up a fucking coin. Moving like a shadow on my back's a bow and arrow. Treat my enemies like cattle. Let them know that I'm a pharaoh. Lay them all to rest and pull a pillow by their feet. So when they wake up from their death, they come to realize that it's me. Blinded by their sins, they hear the sounds of violence. Before it all gets silent, they know exactly who I be. And even in their death, when they believe there's nothing left before they take another step, when they don't have a breath to breathe, they'll open up their eyes, look right up into the sky for the moment that they cry. Say goodbye, remember me. He came to kill me, not to try to keep her right behind me. Even though it seems unlikely, that's exactly what I be.
Most people, as you know, you speak to, whether they're old, black, white, whatever they come from the world. They all think the same, dude. That's what I'm saying. It's just a case of just pushing this paper edifice of the system.
In this life, there ain't no hindsight, no safety nets, just blind sights. Hope you know it's your time when the time's right. Kinda like an underdog first step into the limelight. Went from days of living through hard times to living a highlight. Your thought process wrong. You need to get your mind right. What I say in the song, some might not say, but I might. Out of body experiences, love it in the studio when I write. Do you see what I see? Sure, we have me in checking your eyesight. Underground since day one, you couldn't see me in 3D. Couldn't play me in 4K, couldn't hear me on your TV. A galaxy is New York, I broadcast any frequency. Scumbag alliances, dirty deeds done in secrecy. Karma in time, working against you hand in hand. They say it wasn't meant to be if the villain's weapon jammed. I hit the ground running, no matter where I land. And always remember the opposite of winning was never part of the plan.
But it's like that whole thing, who's going to be the first person to stand up? You know, there's people, as you know, man, probably, you know, living in shit right now in New York. And like you said, they're ignored. Nobody wants to talk about those people.